So when we talk about the elements that it takes to be a good teacher, we know that it takes content knowledge, planning and preparation, and of course, relationships. We have to know our content in order to provide an accurate and equitable amount of information to our students. Of course, the planning and preparation is the road that we take to guide them into what we need them to know. And the relationships are so important because that is what allows our students to take educational risks and feel safe to learn from mistakes. Early on, I learned that it also takes vision. And it sounds cliche to say that in order to be a teacher, you need to be a visionary. But you all are visionaries. You have to be. Especially as a special education teacher, one of the things that I realized was that I had to look at my students as they came to me. Not their deficits, but what wonderful things they had to offer. And then I had to get them to see what I saw. I had to have that futuristic vision. As a high school teacher, we are so worried sometimes because we know that for most of our students, we may be the final step in their formal education, especially if they don't have plans to go on to college. So we have teachers who wonder, when my students leave, are they going to be able to balance a checkbook? If they're in a social setting and someone mentions Boo Radley, will they be able to say, oh my God, I remember that book? If someone says, are you two star-crossed lovers? Will they say, what are you talking about? Or will they say, Romeo and Juliet, right? Better yet, will they ever be able to solve for the slope of a line? Right? Or figure out when to use the Pythagorean theorem. I remember having a project where I had to tile a house, an imaginary house, and I thought to myself, here's where you use that. Okay? And my ultimate fear is one day they will be on a quiz bowl team and they will have to figure out a Punnett square. Will the baby have red hair? High school educators have a lot to worry about. I remember when I first started and I thought to myself, okay, you are going to need to change your vision about how you work with students. And it reminded me of something that we say often in communities of color, I see you. And stated just like I see you is like, yeah, I acknowledge that you're here, but an I see you is like a level 10 affirmation, right? So if you come in and you have on a dress and it looks great and someone says, okay, dress, I see you. Immediately, you know you're killing it, right? I can say to the toughest kid in the school, all right, haircut, I see you, waves popping. There's a little smile, an extra couple brushes because they know that you see them and accept them just as they came to you. So I start teaching high school. I'm called into the principal's office and he says, I have a wonderful opportunity for you. And that was one of these things. I was being voluntold that I would be the cheerleading coach. And this is what helped me develop my vision for my students. We had 9 girls. We kind of looked like a group of just young people trying to do it. And everybody there was like, okay, yes, we're cheerleaders. And I was like, okay. You know, I saw Bring It On. I've seen cheerleaders out. I figured this can't be too hard, right? We're going to build relationships. We had team dinners. We had game nights, so we had the relationship part covered. And then I said, okay, you all are going to need some cheer content. So I found a cheerleading camp. And I said, okay, I rented a 15-passenger van. I drove up the side of a mountain to get them to the best cheer camp on the East Coast. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to cheer camp, but I will remind you, we had 9 girls. We had mismatched uniforms because Public school, we don't get new uniforms. You have the uniforms, the ones that already exist. They didn't all fit, but we were excited. On the way up, we were like, let's buy matching t-shirts. Yes, blue, black, and white. We get to cheer camp, and there were no matching t-shirts. There were matching people. Everyone was the same ponytail, the same makeup, the same size, the same color. And I was like, okay. It was like an army of school spirit. You would walk, someone would call the chair, little Sally Walker. The rest of the teams would finish the words. And I had one stunt group and a bunch of girls that would go, woo! Anytime the team scored. It was quite the experience. So I knew that at the end of this, no matter what, we'd be better. Our relationships would be stronger. Our content would have increased by then. I just knew that we were going to be fine when we left. So we performed with our 9 girls. We get back to Wilmington and we're like, yes, we are ready. Wait till they see this welcome chair. And the girls take the field and the crowd loves it. They're participating. Administration is like, this is by far the best team. And I'm looking at my girls like, thank you. But I didn't quite see cheerleaders. You know, I just saw my 9 girls that have worked so hard. So I thought to myself, you know what? It's probably the uniforms. I'm gonna see if I can get us at least to have matching uniforms, you know, and some of our girls were larger, and these uniforms have probably been there since the 80s. So we had to sew a couple skirts together to make a skirt, and I had a parent who did that and was so thankful. And then my administrator at the time clearly had vision. He saw my girls as cheerleaders, and he said, tell me how many skirts you need, and I'll buy them, because I remember making the basketball team and I couldn't fit my uniform and I was so embarrassed, and I don't want that for these kids. So I said, thank you, I appreciate that. So he used his own money and bought skirts for my girls. So now we definitely look the part. We've got the rally chairs, the spirit chairs, the welcome chairs, and here we are, and I'm looking at my 9 girls like, they still don't seem like cheerleaders. I said, you know what? It's the bows. We don't have bows. When we went to camp, everyone had a bow, huge bows, okay? And we learned at camp, the bigger the bow, the better the spirit, the better the spirit, the better the cheerleader. So I knew that's what I had to do. So I remember going to the craft store, getting the material. I bought a bow dini, and I made elaborate bows. So now we had our bows, we had our skirts, we had our team together, and then I was just like, we still look like 9 girls, 2 stunt groups, a little less wobbly, a lot less wooing, but I just didn't see it. And then I realized what the issue was. It wasn't them at all, it was me. It was me. I was looking like, we don't look like the army of cheerleaders. We stick out. We come down the hall, everyone's like, there, that's the school from Brandywine. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is wrong with you? Why do you want your kids to blend in? Because I know what that felt like to stick out. We all know what that feels like to stick out. But that wasn't them. They were great. But we, as teachers, look at students who don't sit still, who talk too loudly, and we are in our head like, oh my God. Hey, Andre, thanks for coming. He's so obnoxious. Sit down, right? So we have to think about the projections that we put on students that inhibit us from teaching and connecting. I remembered being the immigrant child who had too many ideas And people were like, sit down, shut up. Why are you always interjecting? Just sit down, blend in. So as a young teacher, you thought, if your kids don't blend, they don't belong. Now imagine being a special ed teacher where none of your kids blend. You see them down the hall and they're like, Miss Tabor. You're like, calm down. Everybody's looking at you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Right. So I thought about that. And then I had to change my entire idea of what progress looked like. And I invite you to do the same, because those desires to get people to blend really take away from our ability to educate them. No one gives you the award for blending the best. None of you are here for blending the best. So I went on to coach. Clearly I enjoyed it a little bit. I went on to coach for another 15 years, right? We've really progressed. So much so that they bought us new uniforms. And I never in my life had to make a cut, so we didn't cut. We didn't cut anyone. We just had to order more uniforms. When we went to camp the following year, we won Best Small Squad. And it was literally like winning a Grammy. You know, my girls were like, oh my God, we won! And I was in the crowd like, yes, Lady Bulldogs, I see you! And I realized I did. I saw them as cheerleaders for the first time. So as we go back into our classrooms, I want you to think about the kids who stand out the most and do what we can to encourage that, because that's where our power is. No one needs to blend. Everyone deserves to be seen. You deserve to be seen. Our students deserve to be seen. My cheerleaders deserve to be seen. Everyone is deserving of an I see you affirmation. Thank you.